Okay, we are recording. Hi, Thea.
Hi, Anne.
So I'm going to just introduce this very briefly and hand it off to you. We spoke a little bit before we started recording, trying to pinpoint what it is exactly we are getting at in conversations you and I have had, of course, in the last couple of weeks leading up to this. And sacrifice, the theme of sacrifice, is what we're going to discuss today. And the role of sacrifice in creation, and the nature of sacrifice, and the nature of creation and transformation. And so I'm going to hand it off to you here.
Well, in our preliminary conversation, we were talking about a lot of different things. So some of the ideas that sacrifice was born out of was, what are we here for in this life on this earth? We had talked a little bit about the idea of reincarnation and how does that inform our understanding of our purpose in this life. And I also
and let me interrupt just to insert this because I have a kind of compartmentalized view of maybe three categories, and there's a spectrum that goes that ties those together as well. We were talking about reincarnation and how if you perceive the world and life, your life experience, through a lens of a belief in reincarnation, that will give you a different approach to the significance of each of our actions here on Earth.
Or can.
There is also belief that may not include reincarnation, but at least is a belief in worlds, realms beyond this material Earth plane, which may inform in the same way or differently, and my third category that I break it down into is the materialists, who, and I know there's this impulse of humanistic belief that this is it, this is the only life. It often seems to go hand in hand with an atheism, where this is it, this is what we've got, but still an impulse toward contributing to the stream of goodness. I don't go for that. I think that is myopic and limiting, but it doesn't preclude having a larger sense of purpose in the creation here. So sorry for the digression.
No, not at all. I think it's good. And with all of that, this time and this moment right now, which we are all living in, with our eyes open to varying degrees to what part we play. And as we are now in December, this darkest of months in the Western or the Northern Hemisphere, we're now coming to this darkest night where we protect and honor the light that grows within as our external light fades. And it's the turning moment. We have, once we hit that solstice, right, until Christmas, that's that slow turning of the light is dark until it starts to grow again. And there's something in our mirroring of our external world and our inner world of what we're able to see and develop and get clear on as our light, our inner light must grow to meet the outer darkness. So I think that's where we're at mostly, that this moment is big. And if we can open our eyes to our inner light and our purpose for being here, having courage to meet this moment, and with that courage, a willingness to sacrifice what we have thought we have in order to give the nourishment to the transformative forces that are wanting to support us in this changing time, this awakening time. So if we can walk with courage, those supportive forces can step in and help to carry us. But it requires a sacrifice, which is born out of courage into what is true, I think.
Yes. I want to give some context to it too. And to anyone listening, one of the things that is most challenging to me at this moment in time is how everyone, even us right now, we're here sitting here talking as if some things are normal. We're behaving as if there's normalcy here. There's okayness here in all that's going on in the world. And of course there is some okayness, but by and large, it's insane and it's not okay. And I know that many of us are walking around with this external facade in a way of normalcy, and inside are horrified by what's going on. And you know, we all have, many of us at least, have experienced this to varying degrees in our lives, from the time we're young, and we have something really bad happens at school, and we're having to walk through the halls as if it's all okay. Our parents die within 2 weeks of each other, and the rug is pulled out from under us, and we're walking around, and people are saying hello as if things are normal, but we know that something is completely
altered.
Completely altered existentially, and we're trying to get our bearings.
Yeah,
I believe that on a very large scale that's happening now, and so it's important to me to give voice to that. It's horrifying. It is horrifying. Every day it's horrifying to wake up to this reality, and I'm going to say it again, to the tyranny, to the lockdowns, to the masked assault on our humanity, on the social distancing, on children not being able to play together, on teachers not being able to teach the kids in person, on limitations on Thanksgiving and family gatherings. It's a nightmare. It's a horror show, and I'm saying this for those who see it, and for those who don't. So back to that, what we're talking about in terms of this moment, you are providing context of this time of year that is parallel to what seems to be also this time of millennia, this absolutely critical point in time that we are all here to bear witness to and to participate in. I believe, go ahead, sorry.
Well, just in that picture, like, of time and human development, right, of our abilities to perceive, think, and engage in our world. It's like we're sliding down, and if we don't make a turn in a particular direction at a certain point, it's like the stream goes farther and farther down into the dark abyss, rather than the waking up of the capacity of what it means to be a divine human being.
And so following on what you're talking about with sacrifice, and you talked about the Christ consciousness and the Christ impulse before we started recording. And that's why it's so important to consider, folks, why we are here.
Mhm.
Life can be fun and joyful. Thank God. But I don't think that's why we're not here just for a fun ride.
Mhm.
And so it requires every era, every generation, really every person and every moment to continue meeting the challenges and to take action that I believe, you know, we could talk about the Christ consciousness all day, but that sacrifice is an acknowledgement, a recognition, and a so the sacrifice is an acknowledgement, a recognition, and a courageous, beyond courageous uh, statement, an undeniable statement that we are acting on behalf of something larger than ourselves.
And then I would want to add to that, the something beyond or larger than ourselves is the us,
Exactly.
is the whole, right? That we are but a mirror, or a window into that largeness of being, of consciousness. And I wanted to add that courage that I am thinking is born out of love, for that which is ourselves and greater than ourselves and is ourselves again, right? So that's the largeness when we talk about being one, when we talk about community. It's just it's everything. I kind of lost that, but I see it.
No, let me just tie that back in. That's exactly it. That's all of it. So it's very, very critical right now in this time of this BS identity politic, diversity, you know, of awareness, all of this stuff that totally confuses, and that's false. That's a false interpretation of our oneness and our community.
That those gestures, while it has the tagline to be unifying, is actually separating.
Yeah.
Because we are bigger than our appearance. Yeah.
Well, it's just go back to just the basics of anthroposophy, right? When we were talking about that, it's anthroposophy at its core doesn't need any of that from the outside, because or that curriculum, the Waldorf curriculum, because it's simply about understanding, reading stories and understanding another's perspective that is also a similar experiences that you have had, and an identification with everyone and all, that I am you, you are me, and we are all, and all is one.
And we're all having, different perspectives out the window while we're here in this life, right? We're all having different perspectives. And I think that our goal is not to create more division, diversity. While,
right.
Well, what story is with that is, bringing equality to all people. We are, I'm like, I don't have the words yet, because it's not that we don't recognize we all have different walks in our lives. We all have different challenges. Some are atrocious. Some are, you know, appear to be gentler and more bountiful. And yet it's not about creating more separation. And that takes courage for me right now to even to be able to say that, because it's about we are all looking out that we're all in the same house looking out different windows. So we see the sun rise at a different time. We have more light.
Hey, hang on, you just disappeared.
Yeah.
Your picture.
Okay.
Hold, I'm going to pause this for a sec so that we can get that sorted.
I think so. Just trying to not.
Okay. We're recording again now.
Okay.
So, sorry for that. So yes, following on, I mean, and the reason I brought up that with the identity politics or the diversity training and all that, it's when I want to go back to sacrifice. There is a real imbalance in terms of what that understanding is and what sacrifice and why. We should not sacrifice. We should sacrifice on behalf of all, not subordinate ourselves to another, right? That's not productive or constructive sacrifice. And that's, I guess we could get into a discussion, and I'm sure some folks would say, oh, well, it is for the good of good, you know, the greater good, because some people are oppressed. And so the only way to fix that is, you know, essentially to oppress the oppressors. That's not how it works. And that's really taking it down to a reductivist, atomistic, separate, it's not, it's false. It's false. And so I want to go back to what that sacrifice is. You were talking about the mystery of Golgotha and what it is, to you, what
my understanding, you know, is that the sacrifice and therefore the resurrection. And so it's, in the way I'm thinking about it, is this moment in time where what we can sacrifice with clarity is that substance that allows for the resurrection. You know, we each know this in ourselves through our own personal lives, right? When we're willing to jump into the unknown, which is scary, and leave that which we have known behind us, that's when something has a force to grow anew. But until we do that, we stay in the same groove. And to varying degrees, you know?
Yeah.
I think, was it Carlos Castaneda who says, you know, the great mystery is in, I mean, I'm not going to quote it verbatim, but the great mystery or the great alchemy that the initiates know is that you jump and you find that the universe supports you with the feather bed. You know, it's through that's the sacrifice, is facing the fear and jumping still.
It's faith. It's faith. It's the dark night of the soul in the initiation rituals throughout the Hermetic tradition. It is practicing and demonstrating that faith, and we're rewarded with that faith.
And with that, I mean, the thing that I've been holding and sensing more strongly is the more I do that, the more I find I'm supported. It's just, it's like a muscle too. The more we do it, the more we know it, the more we can step into greater and greater spaces of sacrifice and work. Because then the more we do it, the more we can do it. One of my very favorite teachers says, you know, the better we learn how to do this, the more we can work and the more we can do to keep on doing it. You know,
yes,
that's what I'm here, right? Is to just keep on doing it.
Yes. And so that's the reminder and a little bit of the takeaway in this time that is scary for so many of us. It is critical for each one of us to take a step, even if it's a very small step, even if the step seems insignificant, a step into that abyss with courage
And conviction.
and conviction.
Because we have
And
to be awake. I think that that's a key in here, is an awakeness to the step we're taking, to not be sleepy in it. That's what it is to have the faith as a child in a certain way. We don't have to know what security we're leaving in the step sometimes. And I think there is a necessary ingredient of being awake to what fear we're facing in a way.
do you mean that when we're a child and have that faith and innocence of a child, that's not the same as
It's not
as
the
it
same
is now? Yes.
because we haven't come away from it yet. We're still held to some degree. I mean, it varies. I don't mean to say an absolute, but I noticed it in myself as I've gotten older. The awareness of what I step into makes a difference.
Of course. I mean, the older we get, the more inhibited we get because of life's experience, of all the dangers that face us. We are wiser. We are wiser in that respect, and it is harder or more challenging to be brave in that wisdom. But being brave in that wisdom and taking action in that, taking action bravely, is even more and more important, and I think probably even more effective because of that. So I guess, I don't know how much more to say about it, and I know this is it seems a little ethereal or abstract. I'm going to say this. I'm going to bring in something from various conversations that we've had, but I'll say now that my hope in this world at this moment uh, rests with the conventionally uneducated, especially of Western civilization. I would say right now, because I'm blunt like this, the educated members of our society, of certainly of the United States and the rest of the Western world, I think are the stupidest human beings on the planet right now. They are very out of touch with their instincts, with their sense. I say this being a conventionally educated person. So I feel like I can say that. I just moved from one of the most educated counties in the country, in the world. And I've never been surrounded by more morons who are asleep
Not
and brainwashed.
thinking, brainwashed, more brainwashed.
They are so indoctrinated and brainwashed. And the trick has been that they've been taught that this brainwashing is education. So not only are they brainwashed and indoctrinated, they are so proud of this brainwashed indoctrination that masquerades as education and critical thinking that you can't penetrate them. You
Well,
can't penetrate their.
It's interesting. What I was going to say, if I can articulate it, is it's this idea that I saw something making fun of it recently, but that what you see before you is not what you see before you. What you see before you isn't real, is that training that you are thinking bigger than what is actually in front of you. To help me out if I can do it. I mean, and Ronan, my youngest, was reading, what is it? Shoot.
Oh, Wrinkle in Time?
Glen time. I'm like, swiftly tilting planet. No.
Mhm.
Um, and there was so much in there too. The thing that takes the feeling of people, which is like their sense, right? Our feelings are that which, um, if we have trained ourselves to listen and follow those senses to distinguish between emotions that are fluctuating, but the sense feeling that we are perceiving rawly with, and be able to bring those in and reflect upon them to understanding, that's what I think people have been being trained out of, right? Instead of taking our information through our perceiving capacities and then understanding them.
Hey, I mean, it's very simple. From birth on,
Yeah,
we are traumatized,
yeah,
first off. So whether it's
yeah,
the birth practice that is now in, you know, conventional birth practices in hospitals, are it's another horror show, and we say that having had all of our children at home, thank God.
God,
uh, uh, but we both had a great deal of experience in the uh, medical industrial complex and that whole paradigm. But that whole paradigm is set up to make people go against their instincts. Here,
yeah,
take this shot. It's good for you. It hurts. Here, let me draw blood from you. It's all for your own good. Making us all go against our
yeah,
instinct. And then, you know, conventional schooling is another one. It's so the opposite of what learning and discovery and curiosity and creativity is about. But kids are made to do it, you know, and so I mean, when I say the most educated are the dumbest ones or the most stupid, you just cut out again. Hold on,
yeah.
I'm going to pause this. Oh, there you are. Okay, I'm
Okay,
not going to pause it.
no,
Uh, when I say that, I don't say that without compassion. You know, I know that we have been uh, systematically brainwashed. It's to detach from ourselves and our knowingness.
yep,
So but I'm just simply saying there's no surprise in it. And it goes far beyond that, and add media to it. And then add the technology. And I would say from 2008 on, really it's exponentially ramped up, because that's when the iPhone was introduced. Uh, and I'm not saying that there isn't, you know, uh, you know, there's two sides to the sword, right? But it has been used to uh, separate ourselves from ourselves. Uh, and I won't go deeply into this. Maybe we can talk about this more in detail next time. But we talked a little bit about Steiner's lecture on Lucifer and Ahriman, and how they work together hand in hand, and Ahriman being uh, a being from another realm, uh, incarnating around now, uh, who, and we've seen this throughout myths of in the Middle East. You can read more about who Ahriman is there, but myths or history. But the Ahrimanic uh, method of using preserving jars, as Steiner puts it, preserving jars, and so whereas Lucifer is concerned with man's stomachs,
mhm,
and that sensational aspect of this, those are his tools, right?
mhm,
Of this existence. Ahriman is uses preserving jars, and by preserving jars, it's explained that, you know, books are preserving jars, libraries are preserving jars. When we take our knowing out of, and I'm come all the way down, out of ourselves, and put it in containers like books, uh, like, and then take those books and put those into libraries, in computers, that takes it away from ourselves. It separates it from us. And when our world is full of experts who take someone else's knowing in a book and then take that in and then go through the training, the schooling, and the testing, and then writing their own thesis of preserving jar and put that in something else, our knowing keeps getting more and more abstract, right? And so we're living in a world full of experts where people go to experts for everything. We've touched on this in other talks. Parents go to parenting experts. People go to doctor, medical experts. People go to experts for everything. And we're seeing it at its, I mean, this is like the culmination of all of it. Experts are telling people to smother their breath and cover their faces and walk 6 feet apart from each other and not be human and not hug and not touch and not kiss and not play together. Experts are telling them all this, and far too many people are doing it. Because they don't trust their own knowing and their own instinct, even though the stats show no evidence to prove any of this. They will believe it because the experts are telling them that. So I sure digressed. But I'm just going to go back to the fact that the hope of humanity is in all people who are in touch with their own knowing. And I don't mean that the educated, many educated folks have been able to hold on to that. And I would say that people who work with the land are, get that reinforcement of knowing. I think people who work with their hands, I think people who work with people, you have much more of an opportunity to stay in touch with your own knowing.
Yes.
It's reinforced all the time. But people, trust your instincts. Don't listen to these experts and don't listen to these educated folk because they're not where it's at.
Yeah. It's that courage to trust yourself, have courage for what is true. And now's the time.
Now's the time.
And the support is there. We don't know what we'll have to sacrifice, but we have to be willing to sacrifice.
Yeah.
To be able to support the evolution of this world.
Of humanity.
Humanity.
It rests on every one of us.
Yeah.
In every step, in every deed. Now, right? So don't wait for anything to change. Do it, sacrifice. And become part of that Christ consciousness. Get merged with the Christ consciousness. It's a good company.
What you said is no matter how small those steps, and some days they're very small.
Yeah.
Even if it's simply to decide to have faith and find the good.
Yeah.
In the day, right?
Yeah.
That takes courage.
Yeah.
To meet what is before us.
Yes.
So thanks.
Okay.
I went all over, but
I really went all over, but so it goes.
So it goes.
All right. Love you.
Bye.
Bye.